Hey, fan family, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk. And today I've got Justin Rieger back in the studio with me. Super excited to take a step back, and we're going to do a season highlight. So we're going to look at what happened this season. We're almost done. Championship left, but stick around. And by the way, like, subscribe, and comment. You know we do this every time, probably a few times. So stick around, and we'll be right back with Real Talk.
Faith Angler Network, Real Talk, where faith, fishing, and friendships come together.
Justin, it's great to have you back. I didn't run you off on when we kicked off the podcast with Justin in the studio and talked about what this was going to look like. And as we wrap up the season, the qualifying events, and we're down to Lake Waco and the championship, I wanted to get Justin and I a chance to kind of step back and talk about what happened since we kicked this thing off in November. And so let's just kind of go down memory lane. I know for me, memory lane can be kind of a long, scary road, especially because we're not really in the middle of it. So we're there in the middle of it, but you're in the trailer working on data and results and scales and all of the technos. And I'm usually running around. So we don't kind of really know all the fun moments that happened until afterwards. And so when you look back over the season, what stood out the most to you?
So I would say starting off, probably the Derby, being able to get kind of out from behind the scenes prior to the rigorous portion of the tournament, and seeing these kids get out and catch fish, and the volunteers and the parents being involved, and being able to communicate with them beforehand was nice. I think I know something that really stuck out with me was when we were on LBJ, we were doing the tournament. And prior, we had a team come in early, and that team, it was their first time fishing, and they were weighing fish, and I was in the trailer where I normally am. And once we weighed those fish, and that was announced that they were currently in first place and all that stuff, the trailer was shaking.
Yeah.
Because the kids were jumping up and down on it on the trailer. So experiences like that for me are really what kind of stood out different times during the season.
Yeah, a season of first. We've been praying about how to launch a derby and all the pieces that would be involved with that. And thanks to the parents that volunteered, that came out to make that work, we did the derbies. And I'll try to get these pictures up during this podcast so you can kind of share. We can share those moments again, but we had a blast doing that, and these kids were having fun. There was so much excitement and just everything that goes along with it. It was a blessing to be able to put those derbies in action, and we look forward to them growing. And again, parents, you make that happen. If you come out and help, we will put derbies together. And you're right. I remember that LBJ tournament, and they came in because they were early, and he came in and they were so excited. I think they had a limit of fish.
They did.
And they had never fished a tournament, much less, I think, they just never had done it before. And they were so excited. It didn't matter. It was over for them at that point. It didn't matter what else happened that day. They had a moment. They had a moment on the podium, on the stage, I should say. And it was truly a lot of fun. And I do think there's so many moments like that, the personal best, and we'll get into that too, and some of the other things that happened. This year, our mission was the Great Commission, to go and make disciples and know that God will be there and teach us along the way. And where did you see that mission coming together this season?
So for me, again, kind of being in the trailer post weigh-in, there's kind of an opportunity for volunteers to kind of step up and if they want to. And so to have some of the guest speakers we had, I think was extremely encouraging because they understand, the importance we have in the world. No one's too far away to be in the presence of God. And, whether you're a professional athlete or you're run a small business or you're rallying these kids in a parking lot and praying, like an opportunity to really be impressionable for young adults. So I mean, to me, just seeing the people willing to step up and grab a microphone and speak on stage, I think was extremely encouraging.
We were very intentional this year, and we always are. And some seasons are better, and we love it when we have a guest speaker, and it could be a student angler. I mean, we'd love if this is something you passions, you feel God's telling you to, to take that bold statement and come up after a tournament and share your testimony or how God's working in your life. We would love to have you do that. But this year, I kind of kicked it off with the Great Commission and what that all means, and then we had Jeremy Afelt deliver his story at Coleto Creek, and go back to the podcast. We've got those on our episodes, and then my pastor Darren Shaw at One Chapel Lake Travis. He spoke about just being aggressively kind, and that all of these messages, all of these things that we're trying to do. This is the impetus of what Fan's about. Yeah, fishing's cool and prizes and scholarships, but building character, your identification in Christ is so much more important. And it's our goal, it's our prayer that we continue to instill that in everyone that comes across the Fan, whether it's the Real Talk, this podcast, or whether it's in an event. And something else that stood out to me, and I'm going to call him out, but the Bernie Bass Club at the end of the tournament, you'll see them gather kind of behind the pop-ups that are there, and they gather and they just pray, and they praises and prayers right then. And I love to see that, and that's showing that this is doing what God wants us to do. Why are we here? And those are we're unapologetic in what we're here to do and why we're here, and that is to build a kingdom and grow disciples and help provide tools that are, ordained by God and biblical to know who you are. So you can go fight those battles that are going to be out there. It's also why we do the armor of God. And then we will do that at the championship as well. And so, anything else on that you want to kind of clue? I think it's so important.
So, yeah, well, and, it just, you kind of speaking on it, it kind of makes me think of that, is it Casting Crown song? Like, it's less about us and more about pointing back to, what Jesus did for us. So,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? So if we can be that guy, that vessel that helps that along, to me, that's what it's all worth.
Yeah. I know we constantly evaluate what we do based on, is it true to our mission? And is it honoring God, and is it safe? And those are the boxes we have to check, and just everything we do. So, we kind of will shift gears just a little bit here and talk about some of the other kind of neat things. We have several siblings participating. We have several all-girl teams and things like that. I just love that. I love to see that diverse element of people that love to fish and come out and participate with us. It's so cool that we get to be part of their experience as well.
Likewise, and I'll tell you, like, I'm a dad of 3 girls.
Yes, you are.
And having my wife and my oldest daughter come out and ask how the all-girls team is doing or how, these sibling teams are doing, to me, it's exciting because there's an extra level, I think, of competitiveness, but also like an interest in the sport. So
I totally get it.
Yeah.
All right, so we started in Belton, season opener, Lake Belton, with a crackle and a pop, right?
They started off a little scary.
It's scary. Ooh, it started off scary. I know. We're driving in and I'm coming in and skies are dark and not lightening up. And all of a sudden the lightning is just like, oh my goodness, what is this? And, you obviously kind of communicate, be safe.
Yeah.
You guys are that are out there, there is an element of self responsibility, right? But, and we pulled up into Temple Lake Park.
Yep.
Beautiful rainbow. It was so good. It just kind of made you feel like God's got this.
Yeah, and it was almost really kind of a double rainbow. Like
Yeah.
there was a second one above it, and it was, to me, it was just like it was proof that we were supposed to be there. I
Mhm.
felt like, and that you're, to your point, like, don't worry about, like, everything's okay. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah, because literally and again, kind of getting into the weird part of it, but it was crackling pretty hard, and the storm literally just kind of moved away.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gave us all a sense of, okay, we don't have to do any, kind of aversion, quick, things for the tournament. It went off without a hitch. We had some good weights come in that tournament. It was fair. I mean, it was a good day. I can tell you, I got the results here. We had winning it with 13.29 pounds was Ian and Zach Schnupp, and I think they finished in the top 5 and the Angler of the Year, so that a win certainly propelled them. Colton Manning and Tucker Romine with 11.5 pounds, and then Jackson Van Dyke and Eli Mejia with 11.38 as your top 3. And we'll post the rest of the top 10 on this, but the top 10, I mean, it's kind of important in any tournament, to getting in there as you propel yourself to Angler of the Year. And so the common theme here as we kind of go through this, you start remembering some names that, Braxton, Ebner, and Remington Stewart were 6th place on this tournament. And, that obviously, they won the AOI, but, the cool thing to me when I look at this, I see Wyatt Jones, with just a little over 5.08, largemouth, big bass, the Shimano big bass of the day. And watching him as he's been part of the fan family get on the podium was really, really cool to me. And, he continued to do that as well. But what do you recall from that, or any comments or thoughts?
So for me, like, I feel like we actually should always keep Belton kind of on our schedule, because to me, smallmouth are some of the most beautiful fish on the planet.
Yeah.
And there's not a ton of places in Central Texas that you can really just go out and catch quality smallmouth and put a good bag together. And Belton can be one of those places. You could put 3 or 4 smallmouth, in your live well with a decent sized largemouth, and you've got a pretty good bag.
Yeah. And
So,
you said it. I mean, the chances of catching a 5-pound smallmouth are pretty real on that
yeah,
lake.
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely has them in there. I think if you look over the history of tournaments, and it's not uncommon to see any given tournament somewhere in the 4, 5, 6-pound range.
Mhm.
That is really cool when
Oh, yeah.
you can button up on a nice smallie on any lake, really.
Yeah, and smallmouth to me are some of the most fun to catch. A 4-pound smallmouth, with the fight that those fish usually have, it's like catching a 6 or 7-pound largemouth potentially.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, I mean, to me, Belton's, it can be tough, and I've heard some of the adult anglers voice tough conditions out there, but I think that lake can also be extremely rewarding.
Well, we'll never fish a lake that's super easy for everybody.
Sure.
I mean, and we don't have Somerville on the schedule, so chill out. But I mean, that's a great segue into Coleto Creek.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a grind, man. And I mean, look, that was just painful to watch. And we were there, and it was like, I think it was probably the hardest tournament in 20 years of putting on events that I'm aware of, that the weights were just this challenging.
Yeah.
Now, it's not always that way. We've been out there where it's, 13 pounds could win a tournament. This was not one of those weeks.
Agreed. Yeah. And the day started out kind of rough in general with the fog.
I forgot about the fog.
Yeah.
How did I forget about the fog?
So I mean, between the fog and I think watching you fly a drone, trying to keep it under control.
I don't have any control.
It was entertaining to say the least. I don't know how to get this thing back here.
No, well, that's just how if you want me to fly your airplane, that's how I'll roll. Just I'll get in the air. How do you land this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fog delay,
Mhm.
right? We got out there and it was going to be the controlled start there. The ramp is just one ramp. It was the right way to do it there. And, which I'm kind of glad, because if you would have done, although it wouldn't have been a trailering event, it's a single ramp right there. Everybody's there. Blast off first gas. It just becomes a little bit of a safety issue anyway.
Right.
We just said, forget it. We're going to do a controlled start. Everybody was so cool though. I think what I love about our fan family is we're all just kind of there for similar reasons. We want to have fun. We want to be family. We want to love, and nobody was like, yeah, I know there were some people we could go, but yeah, it's not right. Doesn't make sense. So it was just kind of chill and relax.
Yeah.
And it was an hour, over an hour, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a pretty long delay. And, then kind of people rolled off. We got the controlled start off, got everybody launched. And we did have Jeremy Afel. This is the one where Jeremy spoke. And again, it was truly a great opportunity. But the weights, Cannon Anderson and Ethan Middleton won the tournament with 7.17. I don't even know. I have my notes. I don't even know if that was a limit. I don't think there was a limit caught that day.
I don't think there was either. Yeah.
I'm
pretty sure it was, I think they may have had 4 fish.
Maybe 3.
Yeah.
4 fish would definitely, we'll have to go back. Ty Gass and Ethan Del Rosario, they had 6.23 and came in second. Again, remember, consistency pays in this AOY race. Braxton, Ebner, and Remington Stewart with 5.38 in your top 3. But here's the cool part. Wyatt Jones back to the Shimano Big Bass podium with a 3.53 pound bag. That also put them in 7th place. So that Big Bass, it gave them some prize money, if you will, some gift cards, and then the Shimano reel. So back to back, again, seeing, Wyatt on the podium twice this season, when we really see much. I know he's always out there grinding, but it just was his time, man. It was just so good, Wyatt, to see you come across the stage twice and have a great season. Yeah, so, Jeremy Afel came out, a 3-time World Series champ, Major League Baseball. That's not what it doesn't matter. He goes, in fact, one of the things he said that I thought was so impactful that we all should think about, he goes, if his kids say, my dad, the, baseball professional or the champion, I mean, he says that's a failure. That's not what he wants to be remembered at. It's his godly fatherhood, his being a husband, a father, and a community minded, God fearing person. That's his legacy. That's the Great Commission. And again, I think he said, you think you have to be a Bible scholar, a theologian, seminary to go and share the gospel and fulfill the Great Commission. Man, it's not it. It's he said this is how do you treat your kids during the day when nobody's looking? How do you respond to your teacher at school and other kids in the lunchroom? That is a way to show God and to build disciples, because people see that and they go, I want to be that. What is that? What makes that happen? And I thought that was just good words to hear.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's compelling too, because you think about the king of the world was washing people's feet.
Yeah.
days before he was, or even when,
Knowing.
knowing and he was being betrayed, he was still washing people's feet, the king of the world. So, you know, um, what a testament.
Yeah. It was a great way to kind of wrap up of a pretty tough day. It was humbling, kind of
Mhm.
good thing to do, right?
Mhm.
So how do you handle a bad day on the lake, right? That's not what matters,
Right.
So Lake LBJ, what a great tournament that was. What do you remember about LBJ?
So obviously, like I said, kind of in the early part of the podcast, some of the teams that came in early, for me, I don't really, again, being in the trailer, I don't see and hear quite as much as I think, um, everybody that's out in front does. So the moments that I do get, I really try to, I focus on and remember. So those kids coming in early, it the the showing, I think, of the teams and setting up their easy ups and stuff in the parking
The
lot.
tailgates.
Yeah, to me, that's almost nostalgic to me because I always remember, like, when I was a kid, going to, like, air shows and stuff with my parents, and they would have, pop-ups and stuff like that. Like, so to me, the nostalgia from that it's real to me, so
I love it. I think it just, again, it shows family. It
yeah.
shows kind of what we're all here to have a great time. So I do love that atmosphere. And on the parking lot of Marble Falls High School back there by the football field. And, the tournament it was a good day.
Mhm.
LBJ fished really well.
Yep,
Um,
usually does right
but,
at this time of year.
yeah, I mean, kind of we kind of hope these things, we put a schedule together, right? Kind of
Yeah.
how these things will unfold. Doesn't always work that way, obviously, but we had a good turnout and we had some heavy bags weighed and I think kind of just going back and trying to LBJ was also when the young Travis team came in, right? And they were early and they had that limited fish and we're just so excited. And yeah, it's just so cool. I mean, there was a lot of great things that happened. I mean, Braxton and Ebner, I kind of think sealed their deal here for AOY. Not officially, but a first place finish with 18 pounds even. Top tens, and a win, right? That's very, very important. But Trent Ott and Christopher Buchanan was 16.3 pounds, and Victor Saprito and Wesley Tillman was 16.15 pounds. Top three. Our big bass winner. I mean, I think this is really cool too. Truett Tucker had an 8.3 largemouth. So that's a share lunker class fish. It's not a legacy class fish, but if you document the weight, the measurements, get all the pieces of information, and they reach out to the ShareLunker, the Toyota ShareLunker people. He can get some cool things to get recognized for an over 8 and probably a personal best. I didn't ask him, or I don't remember, but
Yeah, I'm not sure.
that was a
Even still, I mean, to me, I mean, any fish really over 7 plus to me, but it's
or if you're me, 5. I
yeah,
mean, I'll
yeah,
take a 5
yeah,
pounder.
that's true. That's true. Likewise, but you kind of get into that upper tier in size to me, and it's kind of for me, tournament, with tournament fishing, either you want those 5 fish, sure, and you want keepers, but you could put 40 fish in the boat, or you could catch one fish that's an 8 pounder, and to me, either one that's a total win
Yeah.
for an event to me. So
Yeah, and in tournament fishing, you get a limit, and if you can get a kicker fish, it really does put you over the edge, and outside of a really terrible fishing day like maybe Coleto Creek, and even then a kicker fish, one more fish
yeah,
at Coleto Creek for Wyatt, he would have won the tournament.
right,
He had the kicker, he just needed more fish to go with it,
yeah,
and in any bag, you know. Go cull, you get your 5, and if you're culling 3 pounders, it's a pretty good day
Oh,
in the
yeah.
lake, I think. But anytime you get a big bass, it's 8 pound. It's just a great day anyway.
Yep.
I don't know whether you're fun fishing or not.
That's right. I agree.
Lake Travis, great day. Great turnout. I think what I remember about this tournament, so many limits were caught.
Yes.
So many people were catching fish. Everybody was just having a great time. The weather was good.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I love that. I mean, you want everybody to catch fish. It isn't always going to work out. And there were people that didn't, but there were a ton of limits caught
Yeah.
and no predominant pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when Travis is on, to me, it is like, it truly is a numbers lake. Now, like you said, you can get on, I think certain pockets of fish, wolf packs,
The wolf packs.
of fish, really.
Wolf pack is a thing.
Yeah.
The Chuba copper pack's not a thing.
But yeah, I mean, to me, Travis can be a 40 or 50 fish day pretty easily. And like you said, like no real pattern. Like you could put one bait down, pick up another one, catch 5 fish, put that bait down, pick up another one, catch 5 fish. So, Travis it's a blessing because you can put numbers in the boat, but it's not great for if you're trying to learn how to pattern fish. You know what I mean?
Right. But once you identify a pattern on that lake, it's super easy to replicate.
I agree.
And I love that. And
I-
and that's kind of if you fish to your strengths, and that lake can do that. At
Yeah.
least my experiences for what my strengths are. I don't think I replicate that if I'm in Rayburn when it's 4 foot of mud. It
Yeah.
doesn't work for me as well.
And I think another thing that's real good, I think about Travis that a lot of people don't necessarily give it enough credit for is it can be a confidence builder for you. I think Travis, if there's a bait, I remember, I am not a crankbait fisherman at all, but I will tell you this, Travis made me I love throwing a, square bill. Small square bill, shallow running square bills now. And the only reason I love throwing them now is because of Lake Travis.
No, there you go.
So,
That's really
that's what to me, that's what Travis really can do is it can make you want to pick baits up at, when you're on other lakes and get better at it.
Yeah, that's a
So-
good point. So we had a great turnout. We had a good fishing. Lane Meyer and Bo Glouser with 1801. Eli Bridges and Roy Herring 1609. Caden Foran and Benjamin Gregory with 1531. And Caden Foran had the big bass 5.57. So again, that kicker fish
Yep.
was a significant part of their deal. But kind of just going down the list, and you look at Victor Saprito and Wesley Tillman, top 4, Braxton, Ebner, and Remington. They're ninth. I mean, consistently in the top 10, and I think that's really cool. And I want to kind of point out, I look at like Caden and Benjamin, and they're Marble Falls. They're they just forming a team. So we're so happy to have Marble Falls high school fishing. Johnson City was out there. Vista Ridge is back. So the programs are still forming and growing. And if you're trying to form a program, a club, we're happy to come out and help chat about it and with what we've learned in our experiences. And so we just love seeing these new clubs being formed. So congrats to Caden on the big bass. And Darren Shaw, pastor here at One Chapel, Lake Travis, spoke about aggressive kindness. And that sounds harsh, aggressive. Christians being aggressively kind. Yeah. What a great way to live out your faith and just showing an abundance of love and compassion, no matter who they are or where they think. Like there's a whole bunch of commands and a whole bunch of rules, Old Testament, then the 10 Commandments. And then someone, was asked, what of all these, what's the greatest? Love God with all your might, your heart, and your soul, and love others. It's kind of a, 1B. It's not 2, it's 1. It's he didn't get 2, he said it's 1. That's the most important thing we can do.
Yeah.
And so maybe we should be aggressively aware of that and try to do our best to be kind. You'll bring unity and compassion and love. And it doesn't matter we have to, it's not conditional. I don't want to get on a sermon here, but I love that he spoke about that. And yeah, so that was a great way to close. We unfortunately, the winds were way too high to safely be on Lake Buchanan.
Yeah.
And I know, I did get some confirmation from people that live out there that are diehard anglers, like, good call. It's always hard to cancel an event. I think, we've been doing this for a long, long time. 2003, when I started with the Fishers of Men org, and I think I can count 3 events we fully canceled in that 3 years. Now we've, Lake Conroe flooded one year and they closed it. We couldn't do a championship there, but we rescheduled, right? We've done rescheduling, but it's really something we take very seriously. We don't want to cancel events, but we also want to make sure we're promoting a certain level of safety. And we just don't think that would have been, it just wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
The wind was way too high for that lake. And if you know anything about buck, 15-mile-an-hour wind on buck is pretty bad.
And depending on what part of the lake you're on, it can put you in a pretty dicey situation pretty fast.
And with gust in the 20s up to 30s is what they were forecasting. I wasn't out there to know that they got in the 30s. Doesn't matter. At some point, if you had a 25-mile-an-hour gust of wind coming through you, we're not doing y'all any favors.
No.
There's not a tournament. There's, a rod and reel, the scholarships. Yeah, no, so it's not worth it. So, it was tough, but we did. We made the call. We did the right thing for the championship, I think, by granting 10 spots in ALY points. So if you notice, a couple of the other 10 names that got the berth to the championship was basically if you met the minimum 3 tournaments, and we gave you grace for this one. If you had registered, you got that tournament. So our goal isn't to try to keep people from fishing or anything like that. It's pretty basic, safety. Here's how we're going to make that happen. But what we want to talk a little bit about Braxton, Ebner, and Remington Stewart. I mean, they were Anglers of the Year in the South Division several years back. I remember, you have to check out the podcast we had with both Braxton, with actually Remington Stewart. You're trying to get Braxton in. So they're not a stranger to the podium.
Nope.
They're very consistent. What do you think is the key for their consistency?
So there's a couple things I think that really, for Anglers of the Year, and you've heard me talk, like I feel like Angler of the Year is really one of the most important recognitions whenever you're competitively fishing because of the consistency. But to me, things that really propel anglers to a level that they're competing every year for Angler of the Year are things like the 2 of them knowing each other well enough to know their strengths on how they like to fish and what kind of water they like to fish. I think consistency in practicing, the 2 of them out there together, even if they're not together, if they're out there practicing, preparing, you're not going to walk into, your final exam at school and not have studied, or if you if you did, you're probably not going to score very well. Well, to me, that translates in fishing as well. Like, if you don't put in some of the time, sometimes you don't always get the results. Now sometimes you do, and that applies to school as well. If you got a kid with a photographic memory, he's going to remember, or she's going to remember when taking a test on what the answers are. But, I think consistency, really, it's just practicing and fishing your strengths and knowing the body of water that you're on. But those fish, sometimes you have to tell fish that they're hungry, even if they're not.
You're hungry.
Yeah.
No, you, the bigger one.
Yeah, exactly. So, those are, to me,
Time on water is key. It's it's like, if you want to be a really good golfer, what do you got to do? You go to the driving range.
That's right.
So if you want to be, consistently in the top 10, go to the lake. So yeah, what do y'all think? Put some notes in the comments. What does it take to consistently be in the top 10 or Angler of the Year? I'd love to hear about that. So we're we're on our way to Lake Waco for the championship. We'll put out a note on what to expect there. We've got that out there already, a link to the kind of the format. It's going to be a controlled start. We're going to go out of Airport Beach Park. Practice is Saturday the 16th. It's not required. If you want to get out there and go practice, go practice. But we just had a whole brief discussion about practice time on the water. And at the end at 4:00, we'll be there at the pavilion handing out the championship rings are back. We're excited about that. We'll get we'll draw the boat numbers Friday. You'll come pick up your boat number card, and then you'll get your championship ring. And then on Sunday, we'll meet everybody back at the park. We'll launch you in your sequential number. We are going to recognize seniors at the conclusion of the weigh-in. We will gather all the seniors to come up. We'll do my armor of God, and then we'll go through the recognition presentations. Big checks are being printed, all of the fun things to make that recognition event. So we just go ahead and plan on sticking around. You guys, this is so important that we all are there to recognize our champions and all of the successes. And you've heard me say that a lot. And I know people get hurried, they're tired, but let's just kind of remember why we're here. We're here to love these people and show them and recognize them. But who you got your eye on for the championship?
I mean, a lot of the teams that you listed in the top 10 of a lot of these events, I think. And I mean, don't necessarily rule out somebody to sneak up in there and get a check that it took potentially they had to miss an event but they signed up for the wild card. I mean, one of those teams could come up and take a bite out of the event as well. So Waco's pretty small. I think it's but I mean, you had was it the pros that were on there, and they had some pretty good numbers.
Yeah, you can. The fish are there. Finding them's the key,
Right.
and it's the team that has put in the work, and we'll go out there. You can't not think of Remington and Braxton.
Right.
I mean, they're just they've been too successful. But that's not like I'm saying my chips are all in. Anybody in the top 10.
Yeah.
And when we talk of the top 10 year-to-date standings, we got Lane Meyer and Bill Glauser, Ty Gass, Ethan Del Rosario, which we just released his episode. Caden and Cooper LeBay, they're in the top 10 this year. And the Schnupp brothers, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
We're always surprised to see how these turn out. Who do you think? Why don't y'all tell us who you think's gonna pull this off? We love it. We don't know. We will know when y'all know.
I'll say this too, because I didn't really answer the question.
No, you really didn't. But I
So
wasn't gonna call you out.
I'm gonna actually take one of the sibling teams.
Ooh.
So that's my guess.
You're not going to call out which team it's going to be. You're just going to say it's going to be a sibling team.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be one of the sibling teams this year. So that's my guess.
All right.
That's my prediction.
All right. Like I said, let us know what y'all think. If you're out there watching this and you think it's you, go ahead, put it in the comments. Well, yeah, guys, at the end of the day, it's not just about fishing. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit about fishing. It's about using this platform to share God's love and what God's given us to make a difference. And that's got to be the top thing that we want you guys to know about, that God loves you and is pursuing you, and just take a moment to ask him how to show himself and to make himself be known for that. That's what the Great Commission looks like. We've tried to make that the compelling message this year, and we'll put out a new theme next year. But we're not just building anglers; we're building leaders. We're building the future, and you guys are a huge part of that. And thank you, Justin.
Amen. Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, man. Thank you. I can't tell you how excited I am for the things that God is doing in this ministry and the plans that he's got for these kids, and between volunteers, sponsors, there's a lot of great things coming in that we are certainly grateful for, and to be able to pass along. It's been an incredible ride, and I'm looking forward to every step in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Again, shout out to the parents and the team leaders and all the fishing programs out there. And you guys are so important, all the volunteers. I mean, we kind of get to set up here and do this, but it takes a village. So
Certainly
to
does.
and then we take the fan family. You guys, that's real. We mean that. We care deeply about y'all. So, all right. Well, that's it for another episode of Real Talk. If you like what we're doing, like, subscribe, and he's the problem. Leave a comment.
Leave a comment. I'm sorry.
We're out of here. Love y'all.
God bless you.
This episode of Real Talk was brought to you by CGC Cerakote.